Roasting Robusta. Hello and welcome to the first real episode of Roasting Robusta with me, Francis Peck. We're starting at the beginning, which is the light roast, promising strong acid, yellowish brown color, a slight grain smell, and a wheat flavor. Will the Robusta from Vietnam live up to that? That's for us to find out. Okay, we'll have a tart here, and let's weigh out 200 grams. They're really impressively big beans. It's amazing. I mean, I haven't worked with beans of this size before, really. 215. Okay, so I weighed a bit too much. Still 4 grams. And actually, let's take use of the occasion to just show you how big these beans truly are. In fact, let me get whatever other kind of thing out of the cupboard that I have. What is this? This is it from Thailand, the Arabicas. Okay, and just have a look. I mean, it's almost shocking, I would say, the size of these beans. So very curious to see what will happen during the roast. As I explained in the introductory video, I'm actually just using factory settings. So this also means without any kind of preheat. Just as it's indicated, and then seeing how it runs. So when you push it in, always be sure to have a nice click there. Then you know that it's very stable. Get the protective cover down. I've already plugged it in, so now I can just turn it on with the blue button. And then it doesn't start automatically, of course. It's first you put the settings. So for the light roast, as advertised, that would be 12 minutes. It starts always at 15, so then you first have to move it a bit to the right, turn it a bit to the right, then turn it to the left to go to 12, and the temperature is a little bit less than the default, 230, and we're good to start. So I'm not going to do it like the unboxing one, which just went on and on with me talking over the roast. I'm going to fast forward it. As you can see though, I'm no longer doing this in my office upstairs. The smell was bearable, but you do have a lingering smell of roasting the coffee, which is enjoyable except when you have to go to sleep. So here it's a bit more isolated, and I have the ventilation to help removing too much. Well, it's nice smell, but too much is too much. So let's just keep our eye on the roast, and it will be forward. One minute before the roast ends, so the heating process, you get the audible hearing. So I am watching my roasts during the whole time next to the computer, but just wanted to point that out. At this moment, you can see we have a very light roast, so it still has half a minute to go now. and then it will go into the automated cooling process of the Genie Cafe. In other circumstances, you might want to exit the beans manually. You would do that by pressing this button for 3 seconds. Then you get a system kind of break. You need really to use mittens, but we're not doing that now. We really want to see what we get out of it fully using the system and its factory settings. This usually takes up to around 6 minutes, so you'll still see a bit of
fast forward
spinning. The machine is now almost at 60 degrees and will now stop any second as soon as it goes below 60. Again, here for exact factory settings, I did not even open this cover, protective cover. You might want to do that to allow the cooling to go a bit quicker. So you saw now we were around 8 minutes of cooling. 60 degrees is still not cold. You might still want to use protective wands to handle the drum, but you shouldn't get burns either. So let's have a look at the rate. How much did we lose during the roast? Okay, I am liking the color. That is something. Okay. Come on. Ah! Yes. Okay, that's just one bean we lost. Got it back. And so we have 173.8, so 174 grams. That's more like 8% loss, I think. It's not a lot. The machine is now safe to, well, turn off the electricity. Let's try and show you some of the beans. Okay, so very light color. Of course, because of the lighting conditions, that might not show terribly well on the screen, but it's definitely a light roast. It's brown, it's no longer yellowish. At the moment when the heating cycle finished, there was still maybe some very slight yellowish tones, but because the cooling is quite slow on the machine, you always end up with a darker roast if you allow the cooling to be on the system. In any case, let's do an experiment now, how these beans taste. How will we do the tasting? Interesting question, isn't it? Well, I thought about this kind of strategy. We have the V60. So let me give it a quick bloom. Okay. I added 10 grams of coffee for each method. So actually I should have, I guess, started with the French press. Let me just add this up to 50 grams. That will be easier to count. Because at least for the V60 and for the French press, I want to use the same amount of water, so that would be twice 200. Oh, just a little bit more. Okay, so that's 200 there, so still need to add 150 here. This is not an ideal way of doing the recipe, but of course handling all the recipes at the same time is a bit of a challenge. Just giving it a bit of a stir so the bed might flatten. And then of course, in theory, my preferred method, the flare. So it's the same amount of coffee grounds, 10. For the flare, I had an easy presso JX Pro setting of 10. For the V60 it was 20, and then for the French press 30. So easy to remember. Oh, we can already see actually, despite the fact that I'm doing this 10 grams, it is at 6 bars of pressure going out very quickly, so I haven't been timing exactly, but at least the volume out is something along the lines what we get for an espresso. So, you know, it's really not the intention of being precise at this point. It's just to get a general impression on the tastes. The only thing that I haven't done, which I guess I should have, which would have made more sense, would be also doing a cupping, but no time for that. Let's just go and see how these 3 possibilities taste like. Ready to taste the light roast Vietnam Robusta. Okay, let's start for real with French press. Kind of going from, well, might have a disadvantage in the strength of the flavor. More kind of a soup-like smell at this point. I would say grassy. Slight grain smell. So the slight grain smell, that was what was indicated in the notes in the Genie Cafe manual. Strong acid. It's kind of more bitter though. That's probably the Robusta influence. Let's move to the Harrier V60. Not adding too much so that it quickly cools down for the taste. The smell is a lot interesting here than it was in the French press. Some personality, I would say. Yes, indeed, and now the acids are actually hitting. Now it has There's somewhat kind of an ashy feeling to it though. At the very least, I would say interesting. Very least. So usually espresso is my favorite. Despite that it ran through quickly, so it should be under extracted. Still kind of has a, not a chocolatey taste, but a chocolatey feeling body somewhat. And those kind of ashy flavors, that's what you actually get with Robusta. You don't have to actually burn it or roast it to kind of get those notes. Why can lend itself to a blend with an Arabica that you can then roast lighter and still give it a bit more intensity. That's and then of course what I wonder is it ever going to get better for me with the Robusta? Because at this point there's some kind of nutty flavors also in this espresso. So I haven't optimized any of the recipes here, but promising. I think I'm actually going to consume this for real. See you next time.